Welcome to my first tutorial on how to build an Atlassian JIRA plugin using an Angular frontend. And of course this tutorial is Mac specific. The source code for this tutorial is available on my GitHub account at github.com/tgreshka/jira-ngdemo/tree/part.1. We will complete this tutorial in 3 steps. First we'll build the plugin, then we'll build our main servlet, and then we'll customize the Angular build process. Let's get started. Speaking of buildings, Frank Lloyd Wright said, "You can use an eraser on the drafting table or a sledgehammer on the construction site." In order to develop an Atlassian plugin, we require the Java Development Kit version 1.8 or 8 and the Atlassian Software Development Kit. To simplify installation, we can use Homebrew by visiting brew.sh, copying the installation command, opening a new terminal, and pasting in the command. Then we can add the adopt OpenJDK repository to Homebrew with brew tap adopt OpenJDK/OpenJDK. We can now install adopt OpenJDK with brew cask install adopt OpenJDK 8 because it is a Mac system level component. We will need to enter our password to complete this process. Now we should open our bash rc, zshrc, bash profile, or zsh profile file and add our java_home environment variable. This sets the path to the Java home directory so that the JVM knows which version of Java to use by default. And we should also add the Java home/bin folder to our path environment variable here. That way when we call Java from the command line, it automatically invokes the correct version. Then we can check the Java version and make sure it's 1.8. And then we can add the Atlassian repository to Homebrew with brew tap Atlassian/tap, followed by brew install Atlassian/tap/Atlassian-plugin-SDK. We will see that it is installed into our /user/local/seller folder. Then we can check a new terminal window to make sure our atlas-commands are working. Then we can create a JIRA plugin by typing atlas-create-jira-plugin and entering some basic organizational group and artifact information of our choosing. I'm going to use com.greshka.demo for the group ID and ngdemo for the artifact ID. Then we can visit jetbrains.com/idea to download the community edition of IntelliJ. IntelliJ is easily installed on your Mac by dragging the application from the DMG file into your applications folder. Now let's launch IntelliJ IDEA and click Open a Project. Go to your JIRA demo folder and click Open. We will need to customize IntelliJ to work with Atlassian. Click on File, Project Structure, and then make sure the project SDK is 1.8, the one we just installed, and that the language level is 8. Then click OK. Go to IntelliJ Preferences, and then the Maven tab on the left. We will need to change the Maven home directory from the version bundled with IntelliJ to our custom Atlassian version. Click the Browse button, then type the / key under the question mark, and go to /usr/local/seller and hit Return. Then open the Atlassian Plugin SDK folder, the version number, then the libexec folder, and finally the Apache-Maven-version folder. Then click Open. And we should see the proper version number underneath. Go to the Importing folder, and again, browse to the bottom of the screen and make sure the JDK for the importer is the version we just installed, 1.8. Now we can browse our project file structure. Notice there's an SRC folder with a test folder and a main folder. The main folder also has, actually both folders have a resources folder, but will be focused mainly on the main resources folder. We can go back to a terminal, cd into our project directory, and type in atlas-debug. The initial run of this will take about 15 minutes or longer to download all the assets from Atlassian, but subsequent launches should take 3 to 5 minutes. Allow any requests for incoming network connections. Once the JIRA plugin framework has started, we will see that Tomcat 8.x has started on port 2990. Type Control-C to shut down gracefully. Then we can browse to localhost:2990/JIRA and log in with the username admin and the password admin, all lowercase. Hooray! Our plugin has successfully built for the first time. In Part 2, we will build a servlet using the Spring Scanner framework. Speaking of springs, Emily Dickinson said, "A little madness in the spring is wholesome, even for the king." Or I would argue, even for the poor developer who is trying to find documentation on the Atlassian framework. Back in IntelliJ, we can delete the stub demo files that come with the project, as we won't need them, as well as the tests. If we leave the tests in there, they will fail, and it won't build properly. We can also visit the Atlassian plugin.xml file under the test folder and remove the import of my component, as it will also raise errors on build. Let's open our pom.xml file and add a dependency for the Atlassian template renderer by adding this dependency key with a group ID of com.atlassian.template-renderer and an artifact ID of Atlassian-template-renderer-API. The scope should be provided. Then let's open our Maven tab, right-click on the project, and click on Re-import. This will ensure the components are available in our IDE. Then we'll go back to our command line and type atlas-create-jira-plugin-module and choose 21 servlet. I'm going to use demo servlet for my servlet name and accept the default options. Back in IntelliJ, I'm going to browse to the package and open the newly created demo servlet file and see that it contains a fully functional stubbed out servlet. I'm also going to go into my main/resources folder, open the Atlassian-plugin.xml file, and scroll down and see the servlet entry. I'm going to change the /demo servlet to simply /demo** because I want to use Angular routing in my application and pick up all subsequent URLs. Back in my terminal, we will type atlas-package to rebuild our application. Then, quick reload should reload it, so we can go to our browser and go to localhost:2990/jira/plugin/servlet/demo and see HelloWorld. Yay, it works. Next, we will add the template renderer so we can use a Velocity template as our main application page. First, we'll import com.atlassian.template-renderer.template-renderer, and then we will add a private final variable for the instance of this template renderer. And we will need to add a constructor because we're going to use Spring Component Injection because Atlassian will provide this for us to our servlet. However, this won't work until we add appropriate annotations. We need to annotate our class with scanned from the Atlassian plugin Spring framework, and also the component import annotation just ahead of the template renderer declaration. We will then use this template renderer instance to render a Velocity template. Let's add the line template renderer.render, and we have two arguments that we are going to use currently. The first is index.vm, the file name to render. And the second argument is the response.getWriter that appears in the next line. Except we don't need to call write on it. Then we can delete the extraneous response writer line. Now we'll create a new HTML file in our main/resources folder called index.vm. And because IntelliJ forces the HTML extension to be added to a new HTML file, we'll simply remove that extension. Then we can change our title to something like Angular Demo, whatever we want. And we can add a simple "it works" test to see if it renders properly. However, to make this work in the JIRA framework, we'll add a meta name equals decorator with content of atl.general to our header. This will include all of the JIRA assets on our page. Now we will run Atlas package again, visit our browser, reload, and we should see "it works" in our browser within the JIRA framework. Now we are ready to add Angular and a custom Webpack builder to our project. Speaking of packing, Bob Hope said, "I've been to almost as many places as my luggage." To save time, let's download the Angular tutorial by visiting angular.io/tutorial and scrolling down a couple of screens. We can find the solution, download example, and download that zip file. Open it in our Finder and we see a folder called TOH Part 6. Let's rename that folder to Client and then move that client folder into the root folder of our Atlassian project. Back in our terminal, we need to install Node and Yarn. So first let's run brew install Node and then brew install Yarn, which is a package manager for Node. Once those are installed, we can change the directory into our client and run Yarn to compile this Angular project. Then we can run ng-serve to test that the Angular project is working. When it's loaded successfully, we can browse to localhost :4200 and we can see that the Angular demo is working. We can look at our Atlassian plugin.xml file to see that Atlassian uses web resource keys to include assets in the web application. So let's go to a terminal window and install a Yarn package called angular-builders/custom-webpack. We can add this to our development environment because we only need it at build time. Back in IntelliJ, under our client folder, let's open the angular.json file and scroll down to about line 14 and change the builder from the default to the Angular Builders Custom Webpack Browser Builder. Then we'll add some options for custom Webpack config, adding the path to our custom configuration, and change our output path from dist to /src/main/resources/client. This will build our client assets in an area that is scanned by Atlassian's quick reload feature. Now we will make a new file under the client folder called custom-webpack.config.js, and we'll paste in some code, which is a simple Webpack plugin that I wrote in order to generate an Atlassian XML resources file. We'll see that this loops through all the files that are emitted by the Angular compiler, and the only line you really need to customize is this resources context line, which should be custom for your application, that defines a resources context key to ensure the resources are included on your Atlassian page. We'll see that this also outputs a file to the meta-inf plugin descriptor Webpack manifest.xml file, which we will then need to add to our Atlassian scanned folders in our pom.xml. But first, let's open polyfills.ts because we need to move the zone.js import because it doesn't work like this with Atlassian. So we need to move it into the main.ts file, so that it loads at a later stage in the Bootstrap process. We also need to wrap our Angular Bootstrap in the Atlassian JavaScript initialization. Otherwise, it won't load properly. So let's move our Bootstrap initialization into a variable. And then we can conditionally run Bootstrap within the Atlassian JavaScript initialization function called toInit if it exists. And if it doesn't exist, we can simply call Bootstrap as if we are developing from the Angular CLI. So we'll call ajs.toInit, and then we will call our Bootstrap function within that initialization. But if we're not in the Atlassian framework and that doesn't exist, we simply want to call Bootstrap. And that's it. Now back in our pom.xml, we can scroll down to the Atlassian Maven plugin build instructions and add a key called Atlassian scan folders. Inside this key, we will add the meta-inf/plugin-descriptor directory that's defined in our manifest generator Webpack plugin. Further, an old version of the YUI compressor is enabled by default, so we need to add a compress resources key and set that to false under the plugin configuration. Now, back in our index.vm template, we need to define an app root for Angular to attach to and include our web resources using the $WebResourceManager.requireResources-for-context function that comes with the Atlassian framework. And here is where we will add the custom key that we defined in our Webpack builder. We also need to add a base href tag and set that to the /jira/plugins/servlet/demo URL. This way, Angular knows where to get all of its assets. Now we should be able to run ng build within our client folder in the terminal. And once that build process has completed, we should be able to refresh our browser and see that although it's not pretty, the Tour of Heroes demo Angular application is working within our Atlassian framework. In the next tutorial, we will customize the look and feel of this application using AUI and integrate Angular builds into our Maven build process using the front-end Maven plugin. I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. Please subscribe to be notified of my next tutorial, and feel free to leave a comment or suggestion. Thanks for watching.